Oh, good morning, everyone. Could we please have a roll call, please?
Chair McMichael. Vice Chair Boylan. Regent Brooks.
Here.
Regent Brown.
Here.
Regent Downs.
Here.
You do have a quorum.
Thank you. Public comment. For those that wish to call in to the office, public comment, please dial 669-444-9171 and enter meeting ID 999-9889-3151. And the passcode is 666-666. Thank you. Do we have any public comment in Elko? Hearing none. Do we have any public comment in Reno? Hearing none, we'll move on to Las Vegas. Do we have any public comment in Las Vegas?
Doug Unger, D-O-U-G, U-N-G-E-R, Nevada Faculty Alliance. I just want to take this occasion to thank Interim Chancellor Charlton and the members of the committee, Regent McMichaels, Director James, and Director Garcia, for the ad hoc committee on safety and security for the NSHE campuses. I think we're making significant progress and that our campuses will see some concrete deliverables very soon. I would like the regents who serve on the committee to begin thinking very, very seriously about the NSHE budget that's in the planning and formation and significantly increasing the safety and security funding for all NSHE campuses. Thank you very much.
Is there any additional public comment in Las Vegas? Seeing none. CSC, is there any public comment on the phone?
There are no callers for public comment at this time on the phone.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to agenda item number 2 for possible action, the minutes. The committee will consider approval of the minutes from the September 7th, 2023 meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All those wishing to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, we'll move on to the chair's report, and this is information only. Because of the added interest for security and the information that's going to be provided today, I'm going to cut my chair's report short so that we can get right into the meeting. Thank you. So we'll move on to agenda item number 4, NSHE Southern Command information only. Adam Garcia, Vice President of Public Safety and Director of University Police Services, Southern Command.
Is this working? Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Michael, committee members. For the record, my name is Adam Garcia, Vice President, Public Safety Services and Director of University Police Southern Command. I will be providing you an update of the status of Southern Command's activities for the calendar year 2023, as well as providing an overview of the 2023 Annual Security Report with statistics of crime covering the calendar years 2020, 2021, and 2022, all of which have been forwarded to the Department of Education as required by law. In the calendar year 2023, Police Services Dispatch Center handled nearly 44,000 calls, which is a decrease from 2022 of approximately 11%. We expect to see this kind of volatility at times from year to year, and there's no real rhyme or reason that we can pinpoint as to why there's a difference from one year to the other. This year, you'll note under calls for service that we've updated the definition of calls for service. In past years, we counted all calls, including administrative activity, and largely the officer-initiated calls like building checks and directed patrols, vehicle stops. These were removed in order to provide a data set of what a police officer would typically handle during the course of the year. What you see here for 2023 is 8,900 calls, and this better reflects what our department does on a day-to-day basis. For instance, these calls include 911 emergency calls and other service-related types of calls that are typically seen in law enforcement responses. Taken in totality, Police Services received approximately 43,000 telephonic calls. That generated the 8,900 calls for service and resulted in over 1,700 reports that were taken by your police department. Radio transmissions continue to be high, with over 800,000 transmissions in the calendar year 2023. The consolidation of surveillance camera operations from CSN campuses to central dispatch is still in progress. I know I've discussed this at the last several reports I've given, but the department is continuing to work with CSN OTS and CSN facilities on a solution so that we can move forward on that project. In addition to calls for service, officers logged 6,200 foot patrol hours across all 4 campuses in 2023. These hours encompass the time an officer spends outside of their vehicles, engaging with the community, providing community-oriented policing kind of activity, and walking. CSN Henderson, we had 566 total hours. CSN North Las Vegas, 926. West Charleston for CSN, 1,300. Nevada State, 446. The Medical District for UNLV, 851. And UNLV's main campus, 2,085 foot patrol hours for 2023. Since January of 2023 and year to date, University Police Services has hired 29 new employees. That includes 5 community service officers, 15 sworn police officers, an assistant director for threat assessment and emergency management, and 8 support staff. I should note that in our most recent recruitment drive, we received 1,100 responses in response to the advertised job applications. Of that number, 1,100, 5 ultimately made it to the background stage. So this illustrates the difficulty that we have in recruiting and in retaining the employees that we have. And I will discuss more of this at my presentation to the full board later this afternoon. The department recruitment continues to build a diverse team representative of the communities that we serve. We have a higher female representation than typically the national average, including our first assistant director, as I've reported in the past. Our female representation on the department is currently 15% of our total sworn personnel. The department continues to take part in the 30 by 30 pledge, which pledges to develop and implement strategies and solutions to advance women in policing. and to improve the representation and experiences of women in law enforcement. By taking this pledge, I ensure that we take measures to increase the representation of women in all ranks, ensure that policies and procedures are free of all bias, promote equitable hiring, retention, and promotion of women officers, and ensure their culture is inclusive, respectful, and supportive in all ranks and roles within my department. And finally, the department will have, by 2023, 30% females within the department. The department continues to support the law enforcement community through CSN Southern Desert Regional Police Academy. As the lead agency, the department has a lieutenant and an officer assigned full-time to build the training academy, and we continue to build relationships with our partner agencies. Thanks to the overwhelming support of Dr. Zaragoza and Vice President McCoy, the Academy has now graduated 4 classes since 2022. 20 graduates graduated in February of 2023, and the August Academy, which just graduated in January, included 18 recruits. February 11th this year, the 2401 session began, our largest class of recruits with 25, 5 of which are university police officers. The 22-week academy consists of many of our regional law enforcement partners from throughout the valley, as you see from the screen here. In 2023, the Community Service and Outreach Division of the department contributed to 79 community events that included 11 at Nevada State University, along with one of my favorites, Donuts with the Dogs. 21 events at CSN, including Pizza with the Police and the Monster Mash. At Desert Research Institute, we participated in the May the Science Be With You event, which was held in May. And at UNLV, 34 outreach events, including Take Your Child to Work Day, Detectives Week, and the Urban Adventure Crime Scene Simulations. The department also participated in 12 external community events, including National Night Out, the Youth Summit in partnership with Las Vegas Metro, Nevada Reading Week, Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, and Cops versus Kids kickball tournament. The department also played a significant part in the success of Super Bowl 58 through the work with the Public Safety and Security Committee and the security details that were assigned to that event. Finally, we hosted the national training for Cleary Center at UNLV in October, and I'll talk a little bit more about Cleary here in a few slides. For training, our department is required to complete various trainings annually. It includes the Multi-Assault Counterterrorism Action Capabilities, or MACTAC. This was very prevalent in our response to the 12/6 event. Racial profiling training, mental health training, officer well-being, implicit bias recognition, de-escalation, human trafficking, and firearms. The department also conducted over 90 safety presentations and trainings to our campuses in 2023. This included 32 active shooter presentations providing an overview of the run, hide, fight model and how to respond in an active situation, as well as an understanding of what can be expected or what you can expect to see from responding agencies in those types of critical events. 43 new student and employee orientations where we provided an overview of the department, information about annual security reports, safety tips specific to each campus, along with contact information that promoted and encouraged the download and use of our campus safety apps. In addition, we provided 10 Jane Jiu-Jitsu self-defense training sessions. This training provides self-defense skills and tactics and is available upon request to all members of our community. We provided 10 general safety presentations providing an overview of the department, giving general campus safety tips, again, the run, hide, fight model, and information about our annual security reports, which you have, location and use of emergency phones and campus safety apps. We also made 4 emergency preparedness presentations that provided information and training on what to do in an emergency, including fire, smoke, explosions, earthquake protocols, bomb threats, and of course, the active shooter run, hide, fight model. This year, we introduced our first therapy dog, Finn, spelled P-H-I-N. I'm not sure where that came from, but this program is intended to provide support to both our department members as well as the community. Our plan is to add additional emotional support dogs to our ever-growing canine program in 2024. In addition to the dog program, the department has begun several wellness initiatives. 7 department personnel have attended peer support training, which includes trauma intervention, suicide awareness, and critical incident stress management. These team members are expected to follow up and respond to critical events, coordinate critical incident stress debriefs, provide one-on-one peer support, and provide department training for that peer support. The department also takes part in the Las Vegas Valley Peer Support Coalition and the Regional Mental Health Bureau, which is an initiative that Metro and Sheriff McMahill is introduced as a regional concept. Currently, the department is in process of applying for additional wellness funding through the COPS office. This grant will provide law enforcement mental health and wellness under the Wellness Act. Finally, as part of our community outreach, department members participated in the 2023 Las Vegas 5K. I'm glad to report that I took part in that run. That run was meant to support the survivors of the October 1 shooting. We also actively are involved in the first responder workouts hosted by the First Responders Action Group and the Veterans Justice Initiative. Included in your materials, you will find the Cleary report for 2023. It actually covers the calendar years 2020, 2021, and 2022. This report summarizes public safety and security policies that are in effect on our campuses, and it highlights crime reporting procedures, crime prevention programs, and other community services that are available to our campus communities. This report's required, as I indicated earlier, by law under the Cleary Act, and requires colleges and universities to disclose information about certain crimes that occur on or near our respective campuses. The Act applies to all colleges and universities that receive Title IV funding, which DRI exempt because they do not receive that type of funding. The Cleary Act requires the institutions to disseminate the security report to all of our employees, as well as our students every October 1. And that must include policy statements regarding crime reporting, campus facility security and access, law enforcement authority, incidents of alcohol and drug use, the prevention of and response to sexual assault, domestic and/or dating violence, and stalking. The statistics that you see here are representative of all CSN, UNLV, and Nevada State campuses for those calendar years that I pointed out a minute ago. I should point out that these statistics include 1 homicide, which was the shooting death of Metro Police Officer Trong Tai that occurred on October 13th, 2022. This tragic event did not occur on campus, but occurred in the street adjacent to UNLV, and therefore was required by law to be reported to the Department of Ed under our crime statistics. So with that, that ends my presentation, and I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Do we have any questions?
I have a question, but, I mean, not directly related to this, but maybe tangentially. I was hearing from some faculty leaders at different campuses, they're concerned about the homeless presence on campus and the danger that that might present to students and faculty. Are there steps being taken to deal with that, or is it a challenge because they're public buildings, and so you have to weigh public interest versus safety? I mean, what can be done with that?
Thank you for that, asking that, Regent Downs. Adam Garcia for the record. The quick answer is yes, it's a challenge. However, I've been working with President Whitfield at creating a regional-wide process in response to that issue. It's certainly a national issue, regional issue, a state issue, and so we are looking at potentially creating a summit in which we will convene groups from across the region, law enforcement, courts, others, to assist us in the response, because moving folks from one place to another doesn't necessarily answer the problem. In addition to that, we have created a HOPE unit, Homeless Outreach and Protective Engagement Unit, which will not only be committed to homelessness issues in and around our 4 campuses, but as well work with Metro at addressing the issue as well. Our first officer for that unit is expected to come on board March 1st, and shortly thereafter, my intent is to assign a lieutenant and a sergeant to that group as well. And that officer's job is basically going to be to handle this issue on a full-time basis. So you'll hear more on this in future presentations.
Thank you. And then I think that the faculty I spoke with would be happy to hear there's movement on that. So, thank you.
Welcome.
Are there any further questions? Any? Go ahead, Heather. Thank you.
Regent Brown for the record. I've said this before, and I will repeat myself when Northern Command comes up. I just want to thank you for the system, for creating a culture where students feel engaged, they feel like they are part of, that you are part of the campus and not just a presence on campus. And so the events that you guys do and, making students feel safe is just invaluable. Obviously, it's been 3 months since the shooting on campus, and I know you guys have had so many opportunities to engage with campus leadership. What are some of the suggestions that you've heard from the campus leaders and professors? And is there anything that we can be doing as the Board of Regents to start looking at? I know there's been calls for additional money, there's been calls for certain things, but what would you say are some major takeaways that you've had?
Thank you, Regent Brown. For the record, Adam Garcia. The Chancellor's Ad Hoc Public Safety Committee that was established will answer those questions exactly what you just asked. So we have a very inclusive group of individuals who are members of that committee, as well as the subcommittee groups, and it extends across the spectrum with students, faculty representatives, and others, so that we do hear that voice from those beyond the leadership of the institutions. And I will be giving a presentation shortly to bring you up to date on where we are with the ad hoc committee. But the intent is to come back here and provide the Chancellor and the board recommendations on the way forward and what that will look like, including potential funding and other kinds of support.
Do we have any more questions? Any questions from the board? No? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will move on to agenda item number 5, NSHE Northern Command information. Eric James, Chief of Police, Northern Command. Are you available?
Right here.
There we are.
Can I steal this? Sure, go ahead. You won't be able to see it, I apologize. Okay. Everything's behind me. All right. Good morning, Chancellor, how are you? Good morning. My name is Eric James. I'm the Chief of Police of the University Police Department Northern Command. I'd like to take this opportunity to give everyone kind of our security updates, where we've been for the last 6 months. Sort of just exactly what Director Garcia did. So, our stats here. Again, I like to really focus on things like use of force because it shows the things that we're doing right. And so our total use of force incidents, we had reported 29. So of that, as you can look down and see, 99.90 ended without the use of force when we talk about 30,000 citizen contacts. And so I'm very happy with that. Our officers do a fantastic job of getting out there and using the lowest level of force as necessary. We had a total contact of 30,278 citizens. This could just be from saying hi all the way to teaching classes, all the way to traffic stops. We had 5,020 of our computer automated dispatch incidents, so those are calls for service. And then you can see the way the foot patrol is broken down. And so 7,908 hours. That translates into 317 days of foot patrol that the officers and the community service officers spend on the campuses of Northern Nevada. And so when we say we're in the community and we're part of the community, we show it because we have our stats to show that we're always in the community. And so getting out there and doing it every day is the most important work. So some of the partnerships we've had, we continue to work with the Veterans Resource Center. We requested and received 2 Purple Heart parking spots to assist our wounded veterans on campus. This was a great collaboration between not only myself, but the Veterans Resource Center and the President's Office of the university. You know, WNC has them, TMCC has them, and now the university has them. And it's not only that, but it also allows disabled veterans to park there, not just Purple Heart winners, but disabled veterans, which we do have quite a few on campus. And they're put in positions that make it much easier for them to park and then attend classes. We continue women's education and self-defense. We offer a monthly training in the spring semester down at Carson City, WNC. And our community outreach individual, Madison, she handles all that. She's fantastic with it. We continue to work with the Department of Psychology on an eyewitness study. So we have students come in and they do participate in a little study that students are running, but we just give them the space to do that. And so it's a study of what does a recall for a eyewitness look like while they're inside of a police station. And so it's really quite fascinating. And then we sort of started beginning with environmental health and safety. So I'm sure all of you have seen heat maps that shows where crimes are. They came to us and said, we can do this by tying in our data. And so what they did is they built a model that takes everything directly from our daily crime log and puts it in a heat map that people can see where all the crime is at the university properties throughout Northern Nevada, which is really neat because then you can just visually look at it and see what's going on. And then you could actually click it and it'll tell you what the crime was. It'll just give you a very brief, it was a stolen bicycle, it was a larceny, it was this or that. So you can then kind of see exactly, because parents, the number one question they come in is the campus safe? Well, now I can direct them to this and we can show them, yeah, the campus is safe and here's the actual statistics to prove it. We also hosted an advisory group. We got a new virtual reality simulator. And I know when I say virtual reality, everyone's kind of thinking PlayStation, Xbox. That is not it. We could set it up in here, a 30 by 30 space, put these goggles on you with headphones, give you a bunch of police equipment, and you would think you are 100% in the mix right then and there. And so not only is it great training for the officers, but we're actually finding better use out of it with our civilians. And so what we've been doing is bringing people in. Dr. Carrie Hines up at UNR wants to actually use this for her nursing students to how to work through a confrontation of some kind, because we can program all these things. And so she wants to bring the nurses in and actually practice some of that conflict resolution with the virtual reality simulator, which is great. I've seen people walk into walls because they don't realize how far they can go because you can move around this whole thing. It is absolutely amazing. Great piece of technology. We did publish our Peace to Police video. Again, this goes into saying we're going to take the word police and just tweak it a little bit to what the Nevada Revised Statute calls us, which is peace officers. And so that is available upon request if you'd like to see it. We have a threat assessment team, but what Kelly Nadiver, our threat assessment manager, is doing is bringing an ad hoc together. When we have an issue that needs immediate addressing, these people meet and then they address the issue. So with your BIT teams or your SIT teams or your student intervention teams, sometimes it takes a little bit longer. These individuals are boots on the ground that go directly into and help the individual, student, faculty, or staff, help that individual mental crisis immediately so it doesn't escalate. Our Victims Court Services Coordinator, Dayla Gibson. We're now part of the Regional Domestic Violence Working Group. We have domestic violence just like everyone else does, and so we're now part of that group, and that's through the Washoe County DA's office. Our blue light program. If you've ever seen some of the blue lights on campus, you walk up to them, you know they're a blue light because it looks like a blue light, but it needs a paint job, let's be honest. And so what we did is we worked with our fabulous team over at facilities, and they repainted. We ate some of the costs and they ate some of the costs, but we repainted all of our blue emergency phones so they look very nice now. There's a picture of it. It looks great compared to what it used to look like. And then our Joining Forces grants. We continue to get Joining Forces money. We continue to go out there. Traffic safety is a huge issue in and around all of our campuses, especially up at TMCC because the backside and front side turn into a racetrack pretty much all the time. So the officers are out there stopping, citing, educating drivers as they go about their business. And lastly, we just got $10,456 for more BOLA wraps. These are a less lethal device that fires a 12-foot section of Teflon cord that wraps an individual and then hooks. So it kind of can, not Spider-Man, I don't think that's what it's like, but it's a de-escalation tool that allows two individuals to utilize this device to wrap them up and safely take them to the ground in the lowest use of force necessary. But we got a J grant for that, so we bought 5 more units, training cartridges and everything, so we're gonna be rolling that out pretty soon. Our human exploitation and trafficking team, Detective Seifert, is on this, and I think I've said this before, I'll say it again. They can work every day, 24 hours a day, and there would still be a need for a human exploitation and trafficking team. So in December, you can see the number of arrests, adult recoveries, juvenile recoveries, convictions, victims served and contacted, and then public trainings. And then as of January, we've already got 7 arrests, 2 gun recoveries, 6 convictions, including 2 life sentences, 5 adult recoveries, 2 juvenile recoveries, 3 trainings for law enforcement, and 4 public trainings. This is, if we're gonna talk return on investment, this has been a great return on investment because a lot of those statistics are our students, and not just at UNR. I'm talking all of Northern Nevada. Those are some of our statistics, and some of those are students. And so that's a direct support to our students. Continuing outreach, we had a TMCC and President's Office. We did a self-defense class for them, and don't mess with President Helgerson. That's all I'm going to say. We also continue to work with the sororities doing the same thing. The Nevada Living Learning Center, there literally is too many to list, so I'll just give you some of the highlights there. Our active assailant and community response classes, we had over 50 active assailants in 2023. Just last week, I taught 5. We continue to teach these over and over and over again, which is fantastic. Because of the tragedy at UNLV, I think it put it on the forefront of everyone, but we are teaching these 2 to 3 times a week now. It also includes self-defense classes for women, personal safety classes, and then department overviews. We also included trainings with pack rides, facilities, TMCC community, the community college, Orvis School of Nursing, EH&S, Las Vegas Extension. In fact, today after this, I'm going to go over to our Las Vegas Extension. I'm going to do a Girls on Guard training for them. And then I got invited to go out to Denver to do a active assailant training for the Western Regional Management of 4-H or Cooperative Extension. It's a really long acronym. I don't even know what it stands for. But it's in Denver, and they flew me out there to do it. Great group, and we're probably going to do another one when they do a national one. So again, just getting out there and presenting these presentations are so vitally important. We have a public relations internship was established because our Madison is so busy doing public relations, she needed someone else to assist her. So we hired a student to help her. Now she's assisting in coordinating events, creating social media content. I know what you're thinking. I look like the kind of guy that could probably do all the social media. I know, I have that all the time, but I'm not any good at it. I don't know, but a student knows exactly what people want to see, and she's fantastic. We did safety presentations for our CREST scholars, Upward Bound. We have Mobile Monday monthly tabling with UNR's PAC provisions. So while students are coming in for maybe some of those PAC provisions, we're there to provide assistance wherever we can. And then we also did some reach out with Safe Embrace Women's Shelter. We did a couple of classes for them. And then we continue to do our coffee with the cop or pizza with the police. And I know people like to see these events, I know, but community building is not done in a day, or it's not done in an event, right? It's done daily. And so when I talk about the amount of foot patrol hours, that's what I focus on. Not the events where we're out there for 2 or 3 hours, but the hours these officers spend and CSOs out on campuses, making sure that they're visible to our community. So some slides from our organizational resiliency team. This is Dr. Amanda Wins and her team. They conduct a tabletop exercise on active assailant and response and recovery for senior leadership at Great Basin, UNR, Desert Research, Western Nevada. She responded to the first ever hurricane warning in Nevada. That's right, hurricane. You heard me right. In Nevada as a liaison officer with the Nevada State Emergency Operations Center. She also activated Assist DRI South with the UNLV incident, and then presented to the College of Business class on continuity planning for small businesses. She is a phenomenal instructor. Her and her team are great. We did have a few new members join. Haneen, she is now our grant writer because my grant writer betrayed me, and she decided she wanted to be a police officer. So she went to the academy, so we hired Haneen, who is doing fantastic. She's handling all of our grant writing now. We had 2 officers graduate from the NNLEA in December. That was Camry and Jeffrey. We have 2 candidates currently in there. And one is our former research assistant. She came to me and said, I want to be a police officer. And I said, oh, okay, I didn't know you wanted to do that. So there she is. And so we have 3 CSOs have been sent up to assist with the NNLEA and some of their training that they do at that academy. And then Officer Thompson, finally, after a long time, because we have snow in northern Nevada and can make it very challenging to do things, he finally became a certified motor officer after many, many months of training. And then a super great highlight is Deputy Chief Reynolds graduated from the FBI National Academy in September. It's a great academy, came back, he had an absolute great time, but he learned so much and was able to network. And just his networking since he has returned is absolutely amazes me. And so we're really, really happy about that. Okay, I guess that's it. Okay. That is my presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Let's keep the clapping down to a minimum, okay? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh,
And I'm back.
yes, one question.
Sorry, I'm on your other side. Again, I want to just say, I just want to reiterate, Pizza with Police, Coffee with Cops, these are great programs that actually engage with the students, and I just cannot tell you, when I was a student, I did not feel like this was present. Police were not part of our, interactions day in and day out, so this is really invaluable, especially in the world that we live in today. The heat map was very exciting. And I would love to learn more about that, not necessarily in this meeting, but I just want to say that offering some kind of visualization, something to show exactly the types and frequency, I think it will help just people understand why safety is important. And so thank you for being innovative and bringing in those types of tools and resources, because I think it's invaluable.
Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? No? All right, thank you very much. All right, we will move on to agenda item number 6, NSHE cybersecurity, and this is information only. Dr. Ann Makovic, System Computing Service Chief, Information Officer, and Thomas Dauber, Systems Computing Service Chief. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Ann Milkovich for the record, and glad to be here and give you another update on how cybersecurity is going in NSHE. With me today is our CISO, our Chief Information Security Officer, Thomas Daubert, who will be providing detailed information, or at least as much detail as we can provide in a public meeting. Thomas?
Thank you, Ann. For the record, my name is Thomas Daubert, Chief Information Security Officer. And before I go into details, I would like to point out a few positive developments that we have observed over the last 6 months or over the last year. First and foremost, since everything we are doing has some sort of a technology aspect to it, employees have a good understanding that we need to protect our assets and make sure our computing environments are up to date and secure. And, for example, multi-factor authentication, or MFA in short, has become common practice, and we do not hear as many complaints about it anymore as we used to. And we all know what it's like. Oh, it locked me out. Now I got to go through this process again. I understand, but multi-factor authentication knocks down 95% of all malicious attempts. It is also commonly understood now that updates and patches to software have to be verified and installed as soon as possible, even if that means that your laptop shuts down right before the meeting. And I'm the first one to admit that that happened to me, but I'm sure I'm not the only one. But it is important to stay up to date. And I'm also happy to see that cybersecurity has become part of the system design phase. It is not just an afterthought anymore. So all the systems that we are putting in place right now have a security component associated to that. And I can also report that all the NSHE institutions are actively collaborating in cybersecurity and compliance issues. So that's a very good thing to see. So a few specific examples that might be of interest to you. The first one is a tabletop exercise and a penetration test. So on December 5th, 2023, we had a tabletop exercise with the Chancellor's Cabinet. And that was a very good exercise because we ran through a fictitious scenario and practiced how will we react, whom do we contact, and how do we actually deal with this. A lot of questions came out of that. One of them is the communication among the campuses and among staff. So that's something we are currently still addressing. And then SCS, or System Computing Services Systems Engineering, participated in a national cybersecurity exercise, and that was in November of 2023. And SCS and other SCS, or System Engineering, and SCS teams co-led and participated in an annual cybersecurity cooperation exercise, and 16 universities and government security offices participated, as well as NSU and UNR. And the goal of the tabletop exercise was to practice inter-organizational communication in response to simultaneous cyber attacks across several institutions in different states and countries. And that is my understanding that this will be happening on a yearly basis now. Very important. I'm also happy to report that we are planning an NSHE-wide technical tabletop exercise, and this will be between all the institutions, including SCS. And this is the first time that we are attempting this, so it will be a little bit of a monster. I'm looking forward to that. And next time we meet, I will report on that. So I'm looking forward to that. And we are trying to be proactive as much as we can. So last year in June, SCS conducted an internal penetration test. And when I say SCS, I mean our equipment that we are in charge of. But the bigger picture is it includes all of NevadaNet, all the institutions, and all the customers of NevadaNet. And we hired a third party, and we let them into our network, and then they installed their software. We did not know what they were doing, so it's kind of a black box test, what it's called. And they tried to find vulnerabilities. And we were actually positively surprised that they only found one in the Reno data center and smaller findings in the Las Vegas data center. But those were immediately remediated, so we are good there. And due to GLBA requirements, we will do this kind of test on a yearly basis. Yeah, and then I also want to emphasize that we are working very closely with the state's CISO office, and they had put a software called Grammarly on the banned software list. So Grammarly, you're probably familiar with it, hooks into Word and makes sure you're spelling everything correctly. And the problem with Grammarly is that it uploads user data into their Amazon Web Services cloud. And there's no malicious attempt or anything like that, but they use this material to better their product. That means that potential PII, HIPAA information, you name it, is being uploaded to Amazon Web Services, and of course we can't have that, and that's why that software is being put on the banned software list. However, we did meet with Grammarly several times, and they agreed to give us a different license, and coming next week, actually, we'll have a meeting with them, and hopefully we can finalize that license, and then we'll purchase it, and those people that use Grammarly will be taken care of at that point. And this allows us to filter out PII information, social security numbers, and things like that. Yeah, and then last week I did attend the 2024 State CIO Summit at WNC in Carson City. It's a very beautiful campus. I haven't been there in a few years. Thank you, Kai. So that was a very good meeting, and artificial intelligence was the topic there. And we have received several questions about the use of ChatGPT. Can I use it? What can I do with it? And so on. So I use it on my personal account, but of course there are the same risks that we are seeing with Grammarly, potential PII uploads, and then the language model is being trained on our PII. And of course that's not a good thing. I did reach out to ChatGPT about an enterprise license, but that was probably a month and a half ago. Never heard anything back. But we are working with legal counsel on a guideline of how to use these kind of products. So more to follow on that. But going back to the CIO Summit, the keynote speaker said something that I think sums it all up. And she said, AI will not replace the doctor, but the doctor that uses AI might replace the doctor that does not use AI. And that made total sense to me, right? Yeah, so, and all the speakers agreed on that in the future we will see manipulated content, misinformation, deep fakes in voice and video calls. And we also need to think outside the box and start asking our third-party vendors, what are you doing with AI? What are you doing with our data? So that's a little different thought of thinking there. One presenter, and I thought it was not really funny, but he suggested to create a position that does nothing but verify AI-generated content. I don't think we are quite there yet, but the idea that it actually came up is quite interesting. All right, so thanks to AI, we are also seeing increased sophistication in phishing emails. Gone are the days where we have grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes in emails. But I'm happy to report that at least for our microcosm, which is system administration and SCS, the number of reports of phishing emails has skyrocketed since we are enforcing the training, the monthly training. So I think there's definitely proof in this that a monthly short video has a larger impact than a yearly training. So we are working with all the CISOs in all the campuses to try to make that point, but sometimes they have difficulties convincing their faculty to take the training. And then before I go to the last point, I just want to point out that SCS has changed the password reset and multi-factor authentication process. And all I have to say is MGM, you probably remember that. Social engineering is a big problem. We have to make sure that the person that calls us for a password reset is really the person that they are claiming to be. So we are requesting that people either come in person or we are setting up a video session if that is required. But we definitely want to make sure that we are resetting the password for the right person. And we also assured the people that are doing the password resets that we have their backs in case one of our customers feels that we are going overboard on that. And of course, we have shared the procedure with all the NSHE institutions, so they can take advantage of that as well if they need to. And my last point is a change to the login process for the Regents, for you. And right now you're living in a little island. You are not part of SCS, but we want you to be part of that. And it is mainly driven by the use of Eduroam. And Eduroam is a system where all the higher education institutions share a platform where you can log on any campus that is also an Eduroam member. And Eduroam is in 100 countries, and if you're traveling abroad, you go into Berlin, for example, you find a university and you can use their Wi-Fi with your current password. So that's a pretty good deal. And most of the NSHE institutions are already on Eduroam, and we have also 4 Nevada public school districts that are on it, and we have other school districts that are interested in it. And our customer service will reach out to the Regents and make appointments with you to make sure that the switchover is flawless there. Yeah, and in closing, I do want to say SCS staff and institutional IT departments do whatever they can to keep our environment safe. We will continue working with the state CISO office and also continue our collaboration with all the individual NSHE institutions. And this is more coming from my end here, no longer a cybersecurity and IT problem like it used to be in the past. Every user of our system carries their own responsibility, and the better trained our users are, the better we are protected from malicious activity. And with that, I want to open it up for questions if there are any.
Regent Brown for the record. First of all, thank you for that. It's so hard to really know what you guys are taking care of behind the scenes because obviously you're preventing so much before it gets to us. So thank you for coming and giving that presentation. And I wanted to, when you talked about Grammarly, you know, I've been told by some students, they're like, I got in trouble because I used Grammarly and I got zeros on my paper. And in my brain, I was like, why? It's like, somebody is editing your paper for you, that's so great, but obviously there's the security piece of uploading it to the public cloud, and then what, where do you actually end that? So thank you for being proactive and coming up with a licensing that we can actually use. Will that be given to access to students, or is that just for faculty and staff?
Yeah, so Thomas Daubert for the record. I think we're talking two different things here. If a student gets in trouble with their English instructor, it is probably because the English instructor wants them to write the paper themselves instead of having Grammarly fix it for them. But I can speak for the instructor. As far as students, no, because the ban is only for state-owned devices, and we cannot control student devices in any way. We are not blocking Grammarly on the firewall level. The students can still do whatever they want on their own devices, but the license we're purchasing is only for employees within NSHE.
Thank you for that clarification. Disappointing, because I do think that embracing AI is just something that we have to do, and we'll talk about it a little bit later at the regular meeting, but higher education is changing, and we need to change within, our institutions need to change, the world is changing, and I think AI is a big part of that. It will not, to your quote earlier, AI will not replace the student, but the student will replace the one that doesn't use it. I don't know, I'm making that up, but you know what I'm saying?
pretty
Like,
close, yeah.
here's the thing. Me as somebody who works in the real world, I will get replaced if I cannot be more efficient and put out better quality of stuff. I admit I use it every single day, but I don't use it as somebody who, it doesn't put out my information. It helps me become better at it's a brainstorming thing. So I hope as we kind of grow into this AI space that, it already sounds like you guys are being proactive, because I do think that we're going to have more students that start to embrace this, and with more tools and resources, and we can't pretend like they're not using it. So we just need to figure out ways, and this isn't necessarily you, but from a security standpoint, how do we actually allow for that to be on our Wi-Fi networks and whatnot, and, still be safe and secure?
Yeah, Thomas Daubert for the record, if I may add one comment to that. So I did reach out to Grammarly, and they are more than happy to sell us licenses for students, but the cost would be a little bit mind-blowing. So I don't think at this point we can afford it unless they're changing their pricing structure. It's a business after all. Yeah.
Do we have any additional questions? Seeing none? Thank you very much. We enjoyed that presentation. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to agenda item number 7, Chancellor's Ad Hoc Committee on Public Safety, and this is information only. Chief Garcia?
Good morning, Chair McMichael, committee members, Chancellor Charlton, presidents, and colleagues. For the record, my name is Adam Garcia, Vice President, Public Safety Services and Director of University Police Southern Command. I also serve as the Chair of the Chancellor's Ad Hoc Public Safety Committee. I'll be providing a very, very brief update on the activities of the committee. We have met twice since we were formed, with various subcommittees underneath the committee that have been created. They have met to discuss areas which are specific to their assignments. And while we're not yet in a position to provide recommendations, the committee has tackled several areas in which I anticipate that we will be able to provide recommendations in the very, very near future. Among them will be, as discussed at the February 16th special board meeting, mobile credentialing processes that was proposed by Brad Jensen at CSN. We're looking at the potential to be able to use this on a system-wide basis for those institutions that have the technology in which to do that. This process would enable the remote locking of classrooms and lecture halls from a lectern or someplace else within that room. Our meeting, UNLV is meeting with the vendor as we speak, and we're determining what applications can be made for the other institutions as it relates to this. We were looking at the proposed universal locking mechanism that would be appropriate for use throughout NSHE. And so one of the things that I've done initially, I kind of entered into this conversation thinking we need to have a lock that is across the board, one identical to every single door to every single institution because of the interactions between campuses and professors and students. I've kind of backed down a little bit from that, and I'm now thinking that we look at mechanisms that are similar. So just because of the cost that would be involved. So a one action type of a locking from the interior that would be able to be accessed from the outside with a key or a fob by others, including law enforcement. So we're still kind of muddling our way through this, but I think that we will get there relatively soon. The Education and Training Subcommittee that's chaired by my cherished colleague, Doug Unger, is reviewing current and proposed training modules for critical events, building-specific emergency plans, as well as campus-wide and institutional leadership training, as well as planning. Doug has put in a lot of work so far to his subcommittee, and the outcome is pretty apparent. We intend on coming back with some very significant recommendations from the work of that subcommittee. The Emergency Management Subcommittee, chaired by Dr. Wins, is assessing the current plans and the policies that we have in place throughout NSHE institutions in looking at guidance from Nevada on their requirements for emergency crisis and response for schools and potentially making a revision for that. We are reviewing policies and procedures that are related to campus safety initiatives. One of the policies and procedures, I see Dr. Sexton Chief Sexton is here in the group, and we are looking at potentially adding a recommendation which would include language in all syllabi across all NSHE campuses on what to do in an emergency in that particular classroom. So that is in progress. Thank you, Dave. We're looking at identifying staffing required to create emergency management protocols and continuity of operations plans. Chief James brought up the work that Dr. Wines is doing in the north, and we intend on leaning on her to help us guide us in this continuity of operation planning. We have COOP plans that are in place for all institutions. However, NSHE is lacking. NSHE itself does not have a continuity of operations plans. I have met with the Washoe County Emergency Manager, who is the person overseeing the grants for Nevada. And we are looking to begin the process for COOP planning for NSHE using grant funding in 2025. And that is the earliest that will be available. So I'm working my way through that with Kelly Chavarro from Washoe County's Emergency Management Group. We are reviewing various best practices, policies, and Nevada statutes to ensure that our institutions are compliant with those policies and laws across the board. While it's, we're really early in this process, but I made the commitment to you when we met on the 16th that this is going to be a due committee. And my intent still is that while we're in our infancy, that we will come back relatively soon with recommendations for the chancellor and the board. Finally, we are looking at the identification of various funding sources that could be used not only in response to the 12/6 event at UNLV, but also system-wide for other initiatives like training, safety equipment, and others. I have brought an individual on board. Her A1 number job is to begin looking for that grant funding. And so she started last week. And we are moving relatively quickly at kind of uncovering, what's out there, turning over the stones, getting the chancellor to provide us with the guidance that we need so that we can move forward on identification of funding. Despite most of the recommendations, we still have to have funding to make these things move forward. So this is a very brief overview. We've only met once since our last update. We met once before that. And I do expect to have a substantial update at future meetings with recommendations. As I end, I want to just tell you how grateful I am for the continued support of the board, this committee, the chancellor, certainly our presidents, and want to recognize the hard work of the committee and the subcommittee groups, many of which are here today. So thank you very much for what you've done, and I look forward to continuing to work with you. That concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions? Any from the board members? None? Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to agenda item number 8, new business. This is information only. Do we have any new business? Go ahead.
Regent Brown for the record. So when looking at the North and the South, Southern Command and Northern Command's reports, super thorough, I really appreciated it, but there isn't consistency in the guidelines of statistics that we asked for. So I would like for us to create a statistic guideline for both commands so we can easily report out as a system. For instance, we got average response time, all calls, calls of service versus contacts by citizen and foot patrol hours. And then there was reporting using lists versus graphs. And I'd like to just have a uniform way that we ask for data. We're going to streamline it so we can tell the system, the statewide numbers and all of our efforts more easily. The second, new business. I'd like to look into expanding the VR goggle and heat map programs system-wide. That sounds really amazing asset for the Northern Command, and I think any additional tech and safety protocols that we can offer campuses will make students, faculty, and staff feel safer. And if we are seeing success in one area, well, then we should embrace it system-wide when it makes sense. And then my last new business, I'd like to consider the recommendations from the ad hoc committee, possibly meeting more than twice a year as, since we've created a whole ad hoc committee on safety and security, we should probably meet before the fall meeting, especially if there's specific implementations. This committee should oversee and monitor that they get implemented correctly.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions or new business? Hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 9, public comment. Do we have any public comment from Reno? Hearing none, we'll move on to public comment from Great Basin. Anything? Nothing? All right. I'll move on. Any public comment from Las Vegas?
Good morning. My name is Molly Apple, for the record, APPEL. I'm the Faculty Senate Chair at Nevada State. And in that capacity, I also want to really thank the work of the Ad Hoc Security Committee and my campuses. We've been able to be in conversation with my fellow Senate chairs and on the commission, and we look forward to continuing to be able to engage in that important work. I also wanted to briefly speak as an English professor on the subject of AI in our campuses, and I wanted to acknowledge and thank the report, but particularly to acknowledge that it's not, as an English professor, we are really excited about utilizing AI in our classrooms, and we have a lot of really fantastic experts across our campuses who are doing really innovative things and helping train our educators in how they can do that. What I would say, and encourage people to make note of is that the danger is not so much in having students use AI to simply think for them. It's more that they don't always realize what they're giving up in passing their information through something like Grammarly and utilizing generative AI to speak for them, and may not understand the ways in which generative AI can elide the nuances of different Englishes, different languages, and cultural differences. And so I really want to encourage us to, in all the work that we're doing to train people on phishing awareness and what happens to our data in these digital spaces, that we think about what that really needs to mean for our students, because I think they're very highly at risk and don't necessarily understand how to make those distinctions and proactive decisions about what their intellectual property as learners, where that's going into the digital sphere. Thank you.
Patrick Villa, V-I-L-L-A. I'm the Faculty Senate Chairperson at CSN. First, thank you all on what you're doing here. We all appreciate what Northern and Southern are doing, and the committee. It's definitely needed, and it's getting somewhere. I want to follow up on a question that Regent Downs talked about. With CSN, we do have the homeless problem, and it's becoming a bigger issue. And I'm starting to hear a lot more faculty have concerns about their own personal safety. One told me the other day, literally there's a person who sleeps under a stairwell at CSN at the Charleston campus. When she was coming in at 7 a.m., that person came running out with an object, didn't attack her, but scared the hell out of her. And it's something that we don't want to wait till something bad happens. And the message, the rules is very inconsistent, from whether we've talked to one officer or a security guard or our campus administration who's in charge of that, of what they can and can't do. And the rumor mill gets going really fast with the faculty of, we're told you can't do anything, so live with it. We're told you can do something. We can kick them out. We can't kick them out after hours, before hours. What I'd love to see is some sort of maybe a set of rules of do's and don'ts, can and cannot, so that at least the faculty will know this is going to be a perpetual problem or this can be fixed. Just something, because again, the information comes from everywhere, and nobody really knows what the actual rules and the laws are, and that might be helpful in getting us going to where we need to go here. So thank you again, all.
Dr. Bill Robinson, Faculty Senate Chair, UNLV. I have 4 months left as Faculty Senate Chair, and I was planning on just sliding off into retirement in that sense. But you guys are not going to stop seeing me, at least public commenting, for a long time, probably. The security issues on campus, again, we can't ever say enough about those guys. And I'm grateful for the Chancellor for setting up the ad hoc committee. I'm grateful that we have a committee on campus now doing this stuff, but we are still behind. We cannot reopen our campus in September or August without significant changes to security. The mental health issues on our campus are severe. We see them every day. I get emails from students every day who are having to shut down for a period of time because they can't handle what they're doing. They can't handle being on campus. I hear the same thing from faculty all the time. We need to fix Beam Hall. We have some good plans to do that. We just need to do them. We know we need more lighting on campus, that it's really dark at night. We know we need lighting. There's no reason we're not studying that lighting right now, so we're ready to go the instant we're ready to go. We know we need more of the blue poles. Ours are nice, they're new, they're painted, so we don't have that painting problem. We don't have enough of them. And the last group of them were put in by the students. The students paid for them, as Regent Brown knows. We need to act, we need to act, we need to act. And faculty have to see us acting, not just going to committee meetings. So that's important. And just real quick on the AI stuff, we have an AI task force going at UNLV with our campus experts. We want to encourage faculty to use it in productive ways, and we have some amazing things going on. Just as Molly said, we have some amazing stuff going on campus. At the same time, faculty don't know how to put in their syllabus if they want to control it. They don't know what to put in. When should students cite? that they used AI, or should they? I'm just going to tell you again how old I am. I took physics with a slide rule. And the advantage of a slide rule is that you have to figure out the magnitude of the problem in your head, because the slide rule gives you the 5, it's 5.3, but it doesn't tell you whether it's 0.00053 or 5.3 billion. It's just 5.3. When we went to calculators, people stopped doing those things in their head as part of the problem. And you see students making an error on their calculator for the last 40 years without realizing, right, that it's not obvious to them that they did something wrong. And that's the downside of the AI, is students can become dependent on it. And so they don't know how to actually work their spreadsheet. They don't know actually why, we do different things in grammar in different ways. And we need to make sure that there's that balance there, so we don't end up with another generation that doesn't know when they get the wrong answer because they pushed the wrong button on their calculator. Thanks.
Thank you.
Kent Irvin, Nevada Faculty Alliance, thank you. Thank you to the ad hoc committee for all the work you're doing. We appreciate the chancellor for setting it up, for bringing in all the stakeholders. Thank you to our Doug Unger for representing NFA and his hard work on the subcommittees, but also all of the folks who are working on that. I'd like to share the sense of urgency that Chair Robinson just spoke to. And I'd also like to go back to the issue of AI Grammarly. Of course, there are some security issues involved in those things. But as it relates to students and the classroom, NFA is our affiliate is American Association of University Professors, and we advocate for academic freedom and shared governance. And what happens in the classroom and the policies for classroom instruction are the purview of your experts, and that's the faculty on the ground. And that's both individually in courses and through departmental and faculty senate committees, hashing it out and figuring out what the best practices are given the evolving technology. So I'd just like to put on the record that this is an academic freedom and shared governance issue, because we need to rely on the experts who are the faculty as far as what happens in the instructional sense. Certainly, we can monitor that at the system level, at the university level, and figure out where we are going, but ultimately it's the faculty who are the experts. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more public comment? SCS, is there any public comment on the phones?
There are no callers for public comments on the phone at this time.
Thank you very much. At this time, the Security Committee is adjourned.